This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the Narrowgate Security Agency studios.
I think people are so ready for change that they know that to fix the corruption that is so rampant in our federal government, you don't elect those who did the corrupting. And we have such a clear choice in this election, someone who's been part of the problem or someone who is bound and determined to work with us.
We did it. Donald Trump has won the presidency. All thanks to we the people. Voters sick and tired of the Washington swamp chose to drain it. It's time to make America great again. Trump winning, great news for our Second Amendment. Gun rights champion Jan Morgan is here to talk about the Trump victory, a victory for all Americans. Trump wins with Palin power. Governor Palin stumps for Trump right up until Election Day, and afterwards, the governor offers some great words of optimism. Governor Palin wishes a happy Veterans Day to our American heroes, and a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is on the way from Texas. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. The Palin Update is sponsored by Narrowgate Security Agency. Learn more at narrowgate.com. We did it. Donald Trump has won the White House. Trump crushing Hillary Clinton on Election Day. He will become the 45th president in January. Today, we're so happy to have gun rights champ, owner, and firearms instructor at the Gun Cave, an awesome American, Jan Morgan, back on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. You know, winning this historic election, Jan, I thought of you right away because you were one of the people that really kept it positive and really, had that good feeling going, even when so many were telling us that Mr. Trump was dead in the water. I mean, you said, we're going to do this. The Trump movement is getting bigger and bigger, and you felt good. Why did you feel it was going to happen? I mean, we know the media lies. We know the whole thing there, but, it was so overwhelming. Everyone's saying, she's got him everywhere. Why did you feel he was going to pull it off?
Because I'm out there talking to people every day, listening to people more than talking. And I just knew that what the mainstream media was saying is not what I was hearing out and about. And, I got a good idea, too, at the Republican National Convention, Kevin, because there were so many people from very diverse backgrounds. So I knew that Donald Trump was reaching people that the Republican Party had never reached before. And we were going to need those people to pull this off. And those are the people that came through for us, the independents, and then the Republican Party coming together. And I just, the Latino population, we did get some Latino votes, and we did get some African-American votes, and people that Donald Trump drew those people into our camp. And so I had a good feeling about it. I really did. And of course, I'm not going to lie. I was on my knees before God on Election Day morning. I was saying, God, please help us. We need some divine intervention here because I know what I'm feeling, but we need to pull this off, and we need your help. Let's work on not. I was really afraid of election fraud. I felt like if election fraud did not play a part in this, that the American people, by and large, would elect Donald Trump, that we would win. And of course, he did pierce that blue wall.
Well, from the prayer standpoint, I hear you. I mean, my whole family, we said to one another, listen, keep praying even when you're doing everything else, when we're going about our everyday activities. Just keep talking because this can happen. And you're right. I did talk to many others who said the same thing. Is Trump going to win? They said, well, yes, but I'm worried about the fraud. I'm worried about the whole thing. And I wonder how much he really won by, because it's existing out there, especially in the cities and whatnot. But so much to talk about as far as this historic win for Donald Trump, but obviously with Jan Morgan, we like to talk about the Second Amendment and, a big victory for the Second Amendment. I mean, people were really scared, and I think understandably, Hillary Clinton with the Supreme Court, like Trump's son said so many times, this wasn't a 4-year election, this was a 40-year election.
No, that's exactly right. And I did some interviews on CNN when I was at the Republican National Convention, and that was one of the things that they were trying to understand why would any woman support Donald Trump? And I kept trying to get across to them. I said, look, this really is not about Donald Trump. It is about our Supreme Court. And I said, this race is down to two people. It's going to be Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. And we know what Hillary Clinton is going to put on the Supreme Court. So this is going to be much more reaching than one presidential administration or maybe a two-term president. This is going to affect us for generations to come, and we absolutely cannot afford to allow Hillary Clinton to name our Supreme Court. We cannot let her pick those people. And I knew, and I mean, Kevin, honestly, I was sitting there telling people that were coming to my range, I said, if Hillary Clinton wins this election, I will not be here in 6 months. This range will shut down because we are going to be in the fight of our lives for our gun rights, and there's no way we're going to win when she's picking our Supreme Court. There is no way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be talking to you in 6 months either, because we know she'd be going after conservative media too. So
exactly.
I mean, it is
absolutely
unbelievably huge, to paraphrase Mr. Trump. Now, let me ask you this, Jen. You look at the magnitude of the win, but you're still trashing the man, which is amazing,
Sure.
Not giving him any sort of a shot. And even talking about the logistics of the win, as far as saying Hillary lost instead of Donald Trump winning. Well, I say this to everyone who keeps that up. Was she a terrible candidate? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And she did lose. That said, I don't think any one of those 16 Republicans beat her that Donald Trump beat in the primary, because they would have not fought back at her, the tactics that came from that side. He was the only one able to put up with what was coming from that side, the savage attacks.
True. And Kevin, also, I believe Donald Trump is the only one who could have pierced that blue wall. I mean, that is the bottom line. Donald Trump was the right man at the right time in our country to be able to pull this off. We had to pull in some people that otherwise would never have voted for Ted Cruz, would never have voted for Jeb Bush, but Donald Trump could reach across the line, and I don't believe that any other candidate would have been able to pierce that wall. He was able to reach out to the common man, in Michigan, the people in Detroit who are just devastated. I mean, look at what the liberal agenda has done there. Look at what Democrats have done, who've been in control of the government there. Look at Chicago. I mean, everywhere you look where Democrats have been in control, it's a disaster. So I think the people in those communities and those cities are waking up, and they're saying, you know what, this is not working. Let's just try something else. This man says he's gonna bring jobs back to our country. Well, I need a job. So I believe that it was the right time, and of course I also believe in divine intervention.
You look at Michigan, you look at Pennsylvania, you look at Wisconsin, and my children, 5 and 8 years old, they said, Dad, why do they say Hillary's winning? All I see are Trump signs. All I see are Trump stickers.
Everywhere.
And
That's
I said, well, kids, I got you. I agree with you. But, trying to explain, what I've seen over the years with all the nonsense. But I did have that feeling, and through the eyes of kids, I'm sitting there going, something is going on. Something doesn't add up. And then it just was a matter of, will that something or people get to the polls that day? And they sure did. Democrats in Northeast Pennsylvania, working men, the tough guys who have voted Democrat their whole life and finally said, this is ridiculous. And they did really a lot similar to what happened with Ronald Reagan when he got the Reagan Democrats. These are Trump Democrats now.
Exactly. So I think that, we've pierced that wall, and I think that wall is going to continue to be pierced at the end of the first term of Donald Trump. I believe that we're going to have accomplished a lot, and there's no excuse for us not to. With control of the House and the Senate, we've got a chance now to turn this country around, and we've got to get busy. I think I love the fact that he is surrounding himself with the best of the best, Kevin. I'm just looking at all the people and that are already, converging. And I believe that Donald Trump is going to surround himself with the most brilliant conservative minds in this country, and that we are going to take this country back and turn it around for the good of the world. I think the world's beginning to go, you know what, we probably better get on board here, because things are about to get really good in America.
Well, that's a great point, Jen. And what you said about who he's surrounding himself with, I mean, we talked about that, hey, if he gets in, look at all these great people that he will bring in, and it's starting to come to fruition, and that's very exciting. And not only the Senate, not only the Congress, not only, thank goodness, the Supreme Court, but look at these state legislatures. They also went Republican, even in blue states that, have leaders that are Democrat in the cities, but even a state like New York has a Republican legislature. So you look at that. I mean, this is a tsunami. It really is. And unlike 2010, when people backed down to Barack Obama, here they actually have someone who will want to work with them.
Right. Well, one of the other things, too, I've really enjoyed watching the media eat crow the day after the election. Because
I know, that's the icing on the cake, right?
The pollsters and the analysts constantly talking about, Trump's not going to be able to pull this off, and this is going to be a clear win easily for Hillary. She's not going to have any trouble, taking him out on election day. This is going to be this is going to be over pretty quickly. Those were terrible words to say, and I thought, these people know better. They're saying this because they're trying to influence people. They're trying to discourage conservatives from going to the polls and voting. And I think every time the media did that, it had the opposite effect, because the American people have wised up and they know what the media is doing. They're on to them. And so I think that every time the media tries to run over Trump and mistreat him and rig the elections, the American people were going, you know what, I see through all this, and that just makes me more determined to get out and vote and to try to get my friends to vote. So I think it helped him, just like these riots are helping him. That the actions of all these idiots afterward are only making people say, yeah, that's why I voted for Trump, because of this kind of crap. We're sick of that. You didn't see conservatives tearing up businesses when Barack Obama won.
Twice.
We were as upset about his win as these people are about Trump's win. But we didn't tear up buildings and vandalize people's property, assault innocent people.
Yep.
We sucked it up and we said, okay, we can get through this. We're going to have to just work that much harder next time around. And we did. And we survived as a country, barely.
Right. On the brink.
We're going to be okay now. I tell you what, Kevin, the day after the election, I woke up the next morning and I felt like, running through a meadow.
Oh,
the sun was shining on America again. And I felt it everywhere. It's like a burden had been lifted off of people's shoulders. It's like, okay, we're going to be okay now.
It's amazing. and it's still going. I mean, just this morning, a gentleman jogged by my house. I was getting stuff out for my children's football and cheerleading, and he sees the sign on the lawn and he says, "Great election, huh?" And just the thumbs up, people beeping, waving. I mean, it's really amazing, and what we wanted to see. Jen, Morgan, of course, you're all about law and order, no doubt, and you mentioned the riots already. I mean, you look at these people, you're right, though, the media, the riots, this is exactly why, for a large part of the electorate, they did vote for Donald Trump. What do you make of this? Is it going to end soon? And, boy, they're going to be sorry if they're still out there come January 20th, because you're going to have a president who's not going to take any of this nonsense.
Yeah, I really don't have a feel for how long this is going to last. I know that many of these protesters and rioters are paid. You go to the MoveOn.org website, and you can see which is supported by George Soros. You can see where they're soliciting people to. This is an organized effort, and I don't know how. I think people will get tired of it. A number of these people don't even know why they're protesting. They don't even understand who Donald Trump is and what he really stands for. They just throw out, names that they've been told to say, and don't even know what the words mean half the time. If you ask them what is a misogynist, most of them couldn't give you the definition. So
they have no idea. It's pathetic.
Yeah, and I think the weather, the fact that winter is coming on, will help us. These are fair weather people. I mean, they can't even handle it. They need counseling at their universities because their feelings are hurt.
I love that.
Over Trump winning. I don't think they're going to stand outside in the cold because they want to.
Not only are some being excused from midterms, they're actually handing out Play-Doh and coloring books to adults in some colleges. So I got to ask you.
This is what you get when you give everybody a participation trophy. It's kids. They can't learn the facts of life, that competition is a part of life, and that some people win and some people lose. And you can either, let the loss define you, or you can let it make you stronger. You can pick yourself up and say, you know what? Okay, what did I do wrong? I'm going to do better the next time, and let it make you a better person instead of making a loser. And that's how you learn to cope with life. And when you don't let kids learn that at an early age, and you give everybody on the team a participation trophy, this is what the result of that is. You get people that can't deal with being offended. so they destroy property and just shut down.
How about Sarah Palin? She was for Trump from the beginning, officially endorsed him all the way back in January. A lot of people thought it was a very risky move. They questioned her conservatism. They questioned why she would do that. I mean, the Palin factor played a big part in this.
Well, of course it conflicted because everybody loves Sarah Palin. She's one of my idols. I absolutely love that woman, and I'm sure that she is going to play a major role in the Trump administration. I would be extremely disappointed if she did not. So I'm looking forward to see where she's going to be in all of this.
Well, it's exciting, Jan Morgan, and we did this together, and everybody
Yes,
talked
we
to you
did.
so far back when you jumped on the Trump train, and we're
yeah.
here, and it happened, and the ups and downs, peaks and valleys. There was nothing ever like this, but it sure as heck is better to be on this side
It's
than
been
the
a heck
other
of a
one.
ride. Yes,
and
it has.
and like you said, looking forward to who he's going to surround himself with, Palin's role, everything else, and we talked to Jan Morgan, the Second Amendment alive and very well.
Yes, it is. I'm sleeping much better tonight as a result. Our Second Amendment is safe and sound now.
Don't have protesters go near Jan Morgan. Let's put it that way. And they're not protesters, but they're disruptors, and we know what they really are. But let's remember that. Jan, it's always a pleasure. It's great to talk to you instead of uncertain terms. Very, very happy times, and we're looking forward to the Trump administration.
All right. Me too. Great to talk to you too, Kevin. Hope to talk with you again soon.
For much more on our friend Jan Morgan, follow her on Twitter at Jan Morgan Media and visit janmorganmedia.com. Sarah Palin endorsed Trump in January and supported Mr. Trump all the way. Governor Palin campaigned for Trump days before the election in Ohio, Michigan, and New York. And after Trump won, Palin posted this poignant message on Facebook. "Congratulations, America," Palin said. "Now the hard work begins to get government off your back and back on your side. May the wisdom of Solomon guide all decisions." Palin added, "We cast the vote for the Trump movement because it was a vote for American exceptionalism, which leads to peace through our strength, and because this is our candidate." And Palin included a photo of Donald Trump with a wounded warrior. You can see this awesome shot right on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. Donald Trump is the president-elect now, and Sarah Palin played a big part in making that happen. Thank you, Governor Palin, from all of us here at Mama Grizzly Radio, and thank you to all the Americans who supported the Trump-Pence ticket. It is a great time for our nation. Veterans Day this past week, and Sarah Palin recognized our heroes. Palin saying, "With respect and gratitude, America says thank you to all warriors on this Veterans Day. Men and women in service have always been the nation's exceptional ones. They sacrificed more to protect our freedom than anyone else, certainly more than today's reporters, celebrities, politicians, and protesters. In peacetime and wartime, while we prayed for freedom, they got up every day and fought for it. Veterans, we owe you. I love you." Sarah Palin. Palin also said, "Proud to be American on this honorable Veterans Day. Check out what the most humble Medal of Honor recipient is doing today after his round of respectful thank yous to his fellow vets. Enjoy my son-in-law's take on America's freedom in the pristine outdoors about 5 minutes ago. So proud of Dakota Meyer and my son and our extended families, service members, and every other man and woman who wore the nation's cloth and their families. We love you. God bless the USA." You can see the Dakota Meyer video on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page as well. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and be sure to check out sarahpac.com.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
I'm giddy. I love winning. Winning is great. Winning feels good. Everybody, this is the start of a winning season for the American citizen. Imagine what the Cubs felt like winning the pennant this year. But this is times a gazillion. This feels amazing. After 8 years in exile, I finally feel as though God has heard the collective prayers of millions of us who have humbled ourselves and begged for another chance. Thank you, Christians and liberty-loving people, Reagan Democrats, and anyone who still believed that America is that amazing, shining city on a hill. But the reality check is that we can't blow it. This is our chance to govern from the free market perspective and blow the socks off of everyone in this nation who's been duped by the liberal machine into believing that they can only survive and make it with big government. That isn't the answer, and you and I know it, and we get a chance to lead. Okay, I have to give some little thank yous right now. First one being to Governor Palin for being one of the first out of the gate to recognize that Donald Trump was the man needed to clean house in D.C. right from the get-go. There is no one I can imagine who can exorcise the demons of the White House and the corruption of Capitol Hill than Donald Trump. Governor Palin, you led early and often in this fight, so thank you so very much. I can't wait to see what cabinet position you're going to have in D.C. Woohoo! And of course, my Liberty brother, Kevin Scholla. Brother, you never wavered. You never became weary or tired of telling great stories, talking with Donald Trump, telling and talking with exceptional Americans, living the dream, but wanting more, wanting to achieve and pass along their success to these next generations. You rock, man. Kevin, I wonder if we can get an inaugural interview with President Trump and Governor Palin in D.C. for Mama Grizzly. That would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? We have to talk about that. But just like many of you, I couldn't turn off the TV on Tuesday night. I was exhausted. It was 3 a.m. and I was dying. I was optimistic. I was hope-filled and anxious as I'm seeing these vote tallies coming in throughout the wee hours of the morning. Then it's Florida for Trump, then Ohio, then Texas, then Wisconsin. What? Wisconsin? Anybody who likes reality TV, Tuesday night was reality TV at the Academy Award level. Riveting, with, of course, a bit of comedy thrown in as I turned to listen briefly to the mainstream media folks on, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, and CNN. It was awesome. These know-it-alls thinking that common sense Americans didn't know what we were talking about. All of them poo-pooing our ideas about freedom, free markets, lower taxes, less government, ending the corruption, stopping ISIS, closing the borders, etc., etc. These mainstream media morons made fun of us at every turn for the last 8 years. They scoffed at us and rolled their eyes at us and prevented anyone with a different thought from debating them or even being asked to show up on their shows to give a different opinion or view. And we still won. Winning is all I can say. It's remarkable, really, right? There is no one that I see out of those original 17 candidates who could have been able to take on the Clinton crime family, all the media, except for One America News and Hannity. Those two, without exception, stood behind Donald Trump as soon as he became the nominee. But again, Trump took on Clinton crime family, all the media, George Soros funded money laundering operations under the guise of these nonprofits, the Never Trumpers, and the Bush family. No one else could have done it but Donald Trump. In one swoop, Trump single-handedly took all of them out. And I mean out. Even the sitting Republicans in the House and Senate who were, quote, never Trumpers, lost their seats. Victory is great. A message that is for all of us who have felt trampled on, put upon, and peed on since Obama became president. This was our opportunity to say, no, socialism is not what we want in America. And we did it. And those mainstream media, it was the best. Eyes were popping out of their heads. It was liberal faces blowing up and melting across the television. I was thrilled. It was a moment I am reliving several times over since Tuesday night. But I want to point out one thing before we get a little bit too big for our britches. This victory was definitively and decisively the result of a great big God who has had his hand on America since our founding. This victory was divinely ordained and inspired by millions of us who have prayed endless prayers for whether it was Donald Trump, but really for the victory of another chance, for the redemption that has made America the proverbial underdog, that imperfect hero. It's amazing. There aren't enough Democrat dead voters to usurp what the almighty King above kings wants to happen. I can only relish this victory by lifting up my hands and giving that praise and glory to him, the maker of nations and leaders. Those of you who prayed for Trump, you better keep that Bible close at hand. I'm telling you what, because our leaders are going to need God's hand and his guidance over them and protection now more than ever. And it is you and I that get to continue in the gap for those leaders to do what they know needs to be done, and for all the naysayers, all the negativists to step aside so that we can govern and lead in biblical principles, in sound fiscal policy, in truth, in light, and ending corruption, so that all of us can succeed, even those who didn't vote for Donald Trump. Don't be fooled for a minute that the Democrats, the anarchists, and these Soros-funded money laundering operations aren't going to be working overtime every minute of every day of the Trump presidency to undermine everything coming out of this administration. You and I, we must be ready to act through prayer, by spreading the positive word and influence, by uniting those who didn't vote our way, but bringing them to the table so we can talk about solutions, because that's what it's going to take to make America great again. We can do it, because if our hearts and minds are in the right place, we are unstoppable. Just to reflect on the awesomeness of this election, I want to share a few thoughts and insights that I've picked up from different news sources like Governing Magazine. The Democrats went into this election controlling the governorship, Senate, and House in just 7 states, which has been their lowest number since the Civil War, when there were 15 fewer states. Now, after the election, Democrats only control 5 states. Republicans not only picked up the Kentucky House and the Iowa Senate, but unseated the top Democratic leaders in both those chambers, Kentucky Speaker Greg Stumbo and Iowa Senate Majority Leader Mike Gronstal. Republicans also appeared to have picked up the 2 seats they needed to take control of the Minnesota Senate, although, of course, you can't have anything without a recount in Minnesota. That's happening right now as I speak. After this week's electoral explosion, liberalism is facing years in the wilderness, just kind of like where we were. It isn't just about President-elect Donald Trump, but in 2018, the Democrat Party must defend an astonishing 25 seats in their Senate caucus, many of them in states that Trump carried. Republicans now control a record 69 of 99 state legislative chambers and wound up with at least 33 governorships, the most since 1922. See, we are winning. We're tracking with the Cubs. In short, the Democrats' exile is likely going to be lengthy, but it won't be lengthy if we don't ensure that our newly elected leaders and those amazing cabinet members that Donald Trump is going to put in, and the extra 4,000 people he is going to surround himself with in those positions in the White House and at different levels of the government, if they are not on track, if we are not operating in the light with common sense and truth and love for each of us and for this nation, we won't succeed. There's nothing that we want more than to have the Democrat Party in exile permanently. And we can do that as long as we are walking the right path, the good path, with great leadership. Now that we've launched our winning again in America, you can have that, Mr. Trump, winning again in America presidency. We must find a way to help him and all those leaders communicate why sound fiscal responsible policies are great for everyone, why eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse helps everyone, why reducing taxes helps everyone, why eliminating regulations helps everyone, why creating an America First jobs and domestic policy helps everyone. It sounds amazing, and it is, if we can do it. I am cautiously optimistic, but jumping head first into doing everything I can in my power as a citizen of the greatest nation in the history of this world to help make America great again. This is an amazing week in history, and I am so blessed, humbled, and thrilled to have been a tiny microcosm, nano citizen on the wall of history. I would love to know what you think. Tweet me at Tamara Colbert, hashtag Mama Grizz Radio. Have a great week. Yes, it's okay to stop pinching yourself now. Donald Trump is still the president-elect. I'm Tamara Colbert for Mama Grizzly Radio. God bless you, and God bless America, and may God bless Donald Trump.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, and at Tamara Colbert. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Tamara Colbert and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Jan Morgan, and thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Narrowgate Security Agency. Visit narrowgate.com. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lorianne Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.